Welcome to the 2024 CSI Linux Conference. In this session, we're going to go over CSI Linux's artistic endeavors. I thought about calling it creative endeavors, but everything that the team does is creative, what with all the Linux specializations, case management system, collections of tools, and many other aspects. In this session, we're going to cover some of the tools and ideas used in the story and education aspects of CSI Linux projects and challenges. We'll discover some free tools, write an outline and basics of a story, create characters, check for plagiarism, generate useful images, discover a world map, and create CSI Linux challenges. For intellectual property and copyright protection, I won't tell what we'll actually be doing, but I'll go over some tools and some of the processes. We're writing stories, even novellas, to make information security and cybersecurity more entertaining. But the purpose is education and information, not entertainment. In the literature, we'll be building dossiers on different people and groups. People get hired by a particular group, and the individuals learn along the way whether they actually want to remain with the group. Various stories will be based on and include real details from real scenarios, but all names are changed. Any coincidence is just coincidence. The individual characters are highly trained in their own fields and specializations, which is what makes them exciting and noteworthy in the first place. Throughout each story, there would be varying degrees of cybersecurity education, particulars on GPS tracking, scripting in Python, searching in Shodan, radio signals, just to name a few. For example, what I'm working on now has screenshots of Shodan searches and examples of Google Dorks. And because the examples are made up, companies, titles, names, it's not possible to get real data for each, but we provide at least what the prompt or the command might look like. And again, a disclaimer, all scenarios and case studies are fictional. Names of individuals, including victims, have been changed to respect privacy and avoid identification with any real persons, living or dead. Let's get started. Why stories? They're just better. There's plenty of official and anecdotal research to demonstrate that stories simply work. For example, here, this Team Avalon comic series about e-discovery naughty and nice list. So we have a 5-panel comic here that in pretty short order shows the the trouble that can happen legally all around when forensics is not done properly. Pretty quick lesson right there. And also something I made up the other day just with Storyboard. That is a free subscription, simple comic maker. This is a lot easier to read and to get across, at least a lesson learned about the importance of proper digital forensics, about the chain of custody in just 3 panels instead of 3 pages of documentation. And why this way also? Why stories? Again, education and information, not just entertainment. In this presentation, we won't build an actual cohesive story. That takes a lot of time and attention to detail. I'm here to demonstrate tools and techniques, and that leads to different artistic styles in writing and art. Our modern day culture, not much has changed in any culture regarding this. So thinking of culture, about the importance of stories, if you look up Kamishibai, learning an ancient storytelling art, you can just look up the word, plenty of information. There is, you'll come down here, it is what considered an ancient art. I've read it, the 8th century, the 12th century, 1700s. However, there's a long time, but even before the digital age, it's a way of storyboarding and getting across lessons, education, using this old story. Here you can see if your storytelling art used in temples by monks using paper scrolls revived in 1920s through the 1950s. Storytelling, visual storytelling for education and information has been around for a long, long time. But and it continues even today. So our modern day culture, like many others, is visual. Our modern day culture wants fun, and we need education, both general and professional education. People need to know particulars in cybersecurity, information security. It's easy to say, well, let's be secure and let's make sure we handle data properly. But for those in the information security field, there are a ton of acronyms, all kinds of technologies that need to be taken into account, and there need to be particulars and specifics given to the reader, to the learner, to the student, or even just the professional, trained professional. There are plenty of options for knowledge transfer all over the place, PDFs, papers. We wanted to make this fun. We're going to go over various tools. Some of the tools that we're going to use, you've heard of, probably used. We're going to use ChatGPT for idea generation, outline creation, and other items. Perplexity for much the same thing, including research assistance. Midjourney for art. We're going to go over Incarnate for maps. Sock Radar for getting a feel for the threat actors and various qualities and techniques. The TTPs are going to go over QText for plagiarism. Lumi for challenges and H5P generator, and Twine for branching narrative. Let's create a story first. We're going to use ChatGPT to create an idea, an outline, and main characters. So let's put this in here. Create a techno-thriller story idea featuring a protagonist who enjoys manipulating people. That story should involve a central conflict where he's out to create a smear campaign against a former undercover agent. Include an unexpected twist that challenges the protagonist's belief or goals. The setting is space exploration, and consider how intellectual property plays a role in the narrative. And we're going to just watch as ChatGPT gives us a name. We got the setting, the protagonist, the central conflict, and the former undercover agent. You got the twist going on here. You got the climax of the story and the final twist. Got the themes going on. Now, the reason we're watching all this go through, I need to copy it over. We're going to copy it over to WordPad, actually, because this will come in handy later on. We want to check for plagiarism. This is part of the whole ethics of using AI and writing, and it's always been this way for plagiarism. You don't want to just steal someone else's stuff. We're all familiar with AI and training on the data that it's offered. So we want to be cautious with that, but it's great idea generation. There's this recent saying that ChatGPT has become Google and Google has become ChatGPT. Our next step here, so we've created the overall view here. We're going to go with another prompt. We're going to do an outline builder. We've got the main story. And this is not exactly like what was before. Like I mentioned, we're not building a cohesive story, but I'll get this going. So act as an outline builder for this techno-thriller novel, rather novella. A novella is, it's around 30,000 words total. It could be 30, 40, 50,000. It has 6 to 10 chapters, maybe 1, 2, 3 scenes per chapter. So it can be fairly, you can narrow it down a lot as far as what's needed for each chapter. You see it's giving chapters 4 through 7 is given a chapter by chapter outline, plot, character development, and conflict, and various incidents for each of those. So it's very good at getting these down. because each story is very predictable as far as the outline. If you look up novel or novella or science fiction fantasy or any of the genres, you'll find that there is a pattern to them, and it's the individual items that make all the difference. With this, it's now done. We're going to copy that and go over and paste it into our document. Now, the last one we're going to do here is we're going to create two main characters. Keeps wanting to put a file in there. I'm not sure why. So in this, just thinking of excitement, getting two characters in here, using Jack Ryan of the Tom Clancy fame, and then Sidney Bristow from the TV show Alias, that kind of idea. People who are highly trained, and we're not trying to be Tom Clancy, or we're not trying to be write an award-winning TV script, but this gives it that feel. And if you ever ask ChatGPT or Perplexity or any of the other AI writing tools, if you ask it to do it in the style of such and such author, they do a pretty good job of changing the style. While that's still going, you might wonder why ChatGPT, why not Perplexity for each of these? For me, I find ChatGPT to be much more creative. Perplexity is great for research. It is creative, but it adds all those extra links. And I know we could argue all day about which one is better. I've found that pick a tool and go with it. Pick a tool, pick a flow, and just go with those. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, then there are plenty of options to switch. Now what we're going to do is we are going to go over to Perplexity. We're going to get into some technical details. So we're going to ask it, what would the nmap command be to do an intent scan of the fictitious domain worlddominator.com? I like Perplexity for this because it gives a lot of extra detail and it gives a lot of related links and related prompts to it. We're going to ask ChatGPT the same thing. And I like how it automatically took out the image. It knew it couldn't upload it, so it gets rid of it. What I like about ChatGPT for what we're writing is what you just see right there on the screen. You see it gives the block code as if it was in the console itself. And so that's what I like, taking screenshots of that, putting those over, and it adds some color. It breaks up all the text that is in there. So with ChatGPT and Perplexity, there is a good amount of variety, or actually kind of gives a fuller view for what you're looking for. The next prompt we're going to do is about the showdown entry for worlddominator.com. I didn't even look it up. Is worlddominator.com a real thing? I don't know. We're going to ask this the same over here. And while that's coming up, we'll come back and you'll see, very handy. This goes right in. And so part of the education part, you put it right there in the story. And as while they're reading through it, you can tell you're teaching at the same time that you're interacting with the character as far as what they're looking for and what they're doing. And over here, a lot of extra detail and extra prompts from Perplexity. Thank you, Perplexity. And now the last one, and this is all I always enjoy seeing this. This is Recon NG. So we're going to ask, how would I use Recon NG to search for information on worlddominator.com and ChatGPT? And we'll see what those come up with. And I like how they go line by line. The Recon, create the workspace, you add the domains. So it is step by step. And while you're reading the story and interacting, and hopefully you'll be inspired by the art that's in these, people can also go to these and they can look, oh, okay, that's how you do that in Recon NG. That gives me more detail. And same over here with Perplexity. So we are going to add a little more. We're going to go from technical back. We're going to go back to being Perplexity here. We're going to ask it, go on a tangent here. Cyber thriller story, looking to perform digital reconnaissance of the leader of the Anonymals. It's something I came up with. I don't know if there's anything like that for real. So where would we find information on these fictional thugs? So you see search social media platforms, court records, criminal databases. So you can search online and various things, but maybe one thing that comes to mind as you're reading it are what are public databases that could be searched? Now, we don't want ChatGPT to feel left out. So we are going to do the same thing over here and let the hamsters do their wheel spinning, do the work over there. We're going to come back, or while it's doing that, let's come back over to Perplexity and ask it, what are public databases and government websites that she or he, whoever, um, that the agent could search. The agent. Sorry, I'm making notes right here. I had done that for something else, and so I want to adjust that. And let's come over to ChatGPT and make the robot work. Make the robot work for us. And it doesn't want to do it concurrently. That's okay. So let's do that. All these things right here, we don't need to put over because this is more just information, and it's not something that would really be considered part of the story. But when I write the story, that's important to have taken over or put into, it'll be Q text for plagiarism checking. So we're going to wait till this finishes here. So this section here, we've created the story, created the outline, we created the idea, we've built the outline, we've created a couple main characters, and gotten some technical entries on this. And this is still going, which is great about this. This gives plenty of information for a story to tell, our story, your story, to be able to tell, hey, this character goes into Pacer, this character goes into the DOJ, looks at Edgar, have it been pwned. A lot of information here. So these stories also, in using this, as we write them, as you write your own stories, then you can actually learn. We actually learn from writing and teaching, educating ourselves. Perplexity is all done. And now we're on to the next section. In this section, we're going to go over art. We're going to work with Midjourney. So our first prompt here is imagine crew members on a space station hovering over a space city in the style of Yves Ventru. While that's starting here, a couple great sites for prompts. This midlibrary.io under styles, and then promptlibrary.org. Changes every time, especially prompt library. You never know. So let's look here. Go in this, click on that picture, comes up. So love if viewed as an alien city, aspect ratio of 4:7, version 6. So copy that and adjust it as you want, whatever it might be. And then over here, the different styles, you just simply William Tillier, Vincent Laforet. Any of these, they're both specific and just general, such as traditional scroll painting. And you can do any of these styles. And whatever image, whatever you want to imagine in the style of. whatever it might be. And so one I like here is the Eve Ventru. So we got 4 images. If you're not familiar with Midjourney, then it automatically gives you 4 images, unless you, I forget what it like, you vary or you upgrade the different options that you have down here, the lower right, upscale, vary, get different things. So now we've created an overview of that. Now let's get a little more specific. We're just simply going to imagine a spaceship. We've got the city. Imagine a spaceship in the style of Fitzhenry Lane. You've got the stylized version and the style. Not just the particular style, but a little more general artistic style. While that's coming up, we'll also feed it another. Again, it's doing all the work. So let's imagine Jack Ryan and Sidney Bristow piloting a space cruiser, whimsical animation, gunmetal. So we've got the city, we've got the spaceship. We're getting a little more specific, looking at who's piloting it. And this next one, again, it's not a cohesive story here. We're getting out of the usual that we've gotten so far. So just imagine a digital forensic expert sitting cross-legged on the floor looking at the camera, and then aspect ratio 16:3. That is good for creating a banner. So while that's going, let's look at what we've got. We've got the space cruiser here. We've got the different styles. You can use the arrow key to go through, arrow to the right. Some different styles. And if it's not quite what you want, you can upgrade, you can vary, you can even have it redo it. But 4 different styles, realistic to very cartoony. So here we have this digital expert on the floor. It can be a little hard when you have the aspect ratio. You can see it cuts off the top of their head because it's trying to get a full person in view, and yet it's a squished version. But you could use, let's see, if we did that without that aspect ratio, we can see what we'd get from that. And while that's coming up, as we're building these characters, we've gone all the way from the general story down to a specific character right here, this digital expert, the D for expert. Getting into the specifics, it could be threat actors or it could be good guys or bad guys. I like Sock Radar and MITRE ATT&CK for some specifics. I mentioned earlier we're going to build a dossier, which we'll come up to here in just a few minutes. I really like Sock Radar because it shows the target countries, the target sectors, and the attack types, and it shows the TTPs. It gets very specific with these, and I love their art. Good artwork there. And we don't want to copy these, but in creating our own characters of different kinds, we get a sense for in the story, where are they coming from? What are they going to do? How are they going to attempt to compromise or breach a company and steal data? And that will tell what kind of defensive capabilities that other characters would need. And then MITRE, of course, has all these groups. So getting inspiration for the names and the attacks, right, the TTPs for all of that helps build the dossier. Well, we've got this. Let's go back, see what was created. So you can see here in Midjourney, fits a lot better in the screen. It's square, so you wouldn't use it as a banner, but it could give inspiration for creating these characters. So we've got the character and we've got the TTPs and the targets and the attack types. And all this leads to the sample dossier. So I just saved it as an image. I'd already created it because this takes a little bit of time to come up with all the details and get the image just right. So here it is. You got a sample dossier. So this would be someone that a character could be going after, and it really helps having even just this simple example to be able to have something to go off of, and for the characters in the story to proceed. For me, it can be difficult with amongst all this detail to get a picture of the whole world, of what actually is going on, or the region. One thing I found helpful is to use a map. Now I use Incarnate, There are other map programs. I'll show a few in just a minute. But for me, it helps to get a layout. Now with Incarnate, it's all fantasy world. There is a space option. There's no modern cityscape, but that's okay. For me, this is one I did for another story. It's not in this setting, and this is obviously all fantasy, but it helped me get a view, just to get an idea of where certain buildings were, where the threat actors might be. You see some caves there in the mountains, and to get an idea of the landscape, of uh, of the weather, of the cityscape, what it could look like, with dividing lines and so forth. Some other map programs that could be beneficial are Asgar's Fantasy Map Creator, Watabu, and Metro Map Maker, and Worldographer. Those, there are many others out and about. If it works, no problem. But I mean, if it works, great. If it doesn't work, that's no problem. For me, this is a paid subscription because I do other stuff with my family and personally anyway with various maps. And like I said earlier, if you find a tool and it works, then go ahead and use that tool. There's nothing wrong. Choose your tool, find your workflow, and find out what works best for you. I mentioned before that we were going to do a plagiarism check. So let's go here, select it, select all those, make sure I've got it selected. And then we're going to go to, if I can find my browser here, we're going to QText. I use QText for all my writing. And we're going to go ahead and paste this in there and get that going. It takes a little bit of time. So check plagiarism. In real writing, definitely, even though this is a monthly subscription, you get 100,000 words of checking, and this went fast. Normally it doesn't go that fast, but you want to reduce your word count when you're doing professional writing, a lot of writing, because you'll burn through those words pretty quickly. The word count. You can see what most of it's from Chat GPT. Maybe we got some from Perplexity. I don't remember, but you can see plagiarism 3%, and a lot of it. Let's go through, for example. So Boo World, he views people as tools, and confronted with this truth. So many times, and you can also see here down by plagiarism matches there on the right, 73% similar, 65%, 64%. Depends on what you're writing, who you're writing for. The closer you can get to zero, the better it is. Some places may want 0%, which can be very hard because there's only so many ways you can say use 2FA. But some will may go up to 17 or 15, maybe 20%, depending on the company and depending on the findings. This could be pretty high. However, everything may be common terms, like such as use 2FA or make sure you have a WAF installed in front of your application, something like that. What we're going to do now is do what's called H5P. Now I had something up. I'm going to get rid of this here. We're going to go back to Lumi. So this is H5P, and we'll show you what it does. Why describe it when we can just go ahead and do it? So we'll go to the H5P editor, and it creates, let's create a new file, create a new 5HP. And we're going to do what you just saw on the screen, but I want to go from the beginning. Find the words. So it creates an HTML. You can export these to an HTML, and we're going to go through how to make them. And to keep privacy, I'm not going to do the save as, because then it shows my disk, but I've already got the finished files open. So here, find the words is what we've got. The task description, find the words from the grid. The word list, I've got 8 words. Now you could go to ChatGPT, Perplexity, and ask for 8, 10, 15 words. The more words, the larger the puzzle, and it could be overwhelming. We're going to paste these into here. Copy and paste 8 words that have to do with cybersecurity. Up here at the top, go to View, and you have the words. So we automatically see phishing and exploit and malware. We won't go through all of them. You see on the right that it checks them off as you go, and at the bottom, it will check it. It shows you the time spent. You can check along the way, and when you're done, it will show. Good job. It will show all of them taken care of. So let's go to the finished product. It's right here. Actually, this doesn't do it. At the end, you do check, and it will make sure that you've got it. If we were to do check right now with nothing in there, you got 0 of 8 points. We won't go through the whole thing. Let's do a few. Let's retry. And then, yes, I forgot. It puts them all out again. So we've got malware. And this is really tough to do on the fly. You can probably see a whole bunch of those words already. And it does go up and down before. Sometimes it's a little finicky when you do that. So you can see it's got 2 if you were to check. You've got 2 out of 8. The next one we'll do, we're going to do a new H5P file, and we're going to do multiple hotspots. Find multiple hotspots. Hotspots here. Hotspot question. Background image. So we're going to go for a background image, and we're going to use this one right here. Next is hotspots. Find the items that copy what I've got here. Click on the items that might be useful for investigations. Find relevant items. And to make it easy, we're going to go with 3. There are more in this than 3, and you can do however many you want. This was created using Midjourney, asking for particular items. So you do this, click on either one of the circle or the square, click on correct, highlight that. You found it. Then drag that to where you want. We'll do that. You can't copy and paste, unfortunately. Good job. And let's do this laptop screen. And then one more for the third one. We'll do another square, correct. And we will place this over that stack of things right there. And you'll go up and we'll view it. And we'll click there, click there. Now before, you see at the bottom, you got 2 of 3. Let's click on something wrong. And you can do prompts for keep trying when somebody gets something wrong or whatever you want to do. And then we'll get the third one here. And good job. So now we're going to go back here. Here is the find the items. I don't remember what I did before. This was prepared. I think it was that one, and that one. So you see it's an HTML, and you can embed that in your page, whatever page it might be. 3 of 3. So I succeeded at that one. Now the last one we'll do is drag the words. New H5P, drag the words. Title, drag the words. Drag the words into the correct boxes. That's good right there. Now what we've got here is I've got two sentences. And yes, with this, I asked for two sentences. I asked the bot, asked for two sentences of these words. That, two sentences with digital forensics that has certain words in it. And so it came up with this really fast. And in this, we highlight the words. You don't, but it will highlight, you put an asterisk before and after the words that you want to be picked up, that you want to drag into the boxes. And we can put separate words in here, say cybersecurity, in map. We want to do this here. Make sure we do it. We'll just do two of those just to make it easy. And you could do different ranges for the scores, 0 to 50, 50 to 100, but we'll make this simple. We'll go here to view. So in digital forensics, you got to get them just right in the blues. You see how it turns dark blue. Preserving the chain of custody is essential during an incident response. Yeah, you can tell during incident response is how I would say it, but not during an, but we'll go with it. Digital artifacts, and then you check. Great, 4 of 4. And we'll go over and show you how it is in HTML. Same thing right there. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do it since we're right here. It gets a little iffy. Not chain reaction. This was another one I did to help her. She wanted to reset this drop zone. Have to be picky and then check. 4 of 4. And we're done. And that is an introduction to Lumi. Our next tool demo is Twine. Twine is a branching narrative tool, and we'll just show it right here up on the screen. So it's a very simple tool. You can see the branching. The story took me maybe 15 minutes to input. Creating it, I did use ChatGPT, and I'll show you that. So I just asked it, I need a branching narrative for a detective who is trying to decide if he should cover up evidence or not. And it shows here, first decision, cover up or reveal, choice 1 and A1, A2, choice 2, reveal the truth. So a very simple, very straightforward path for each of those. And when it's spread out, when it's entered, it's like this. And you can put the boxes wherever you like. Anything that makes sense to you. Again, pick a tool and make it work for you. Take it as far as you can. And so text goes in here at the top. This is based on HTML. It uses CSS also. I don't have anything set up for this because I wanted a simple, straightforward example. And this shows down here. This is how you do the links, and it'll all make sense in just a few minutes. You can change the background. Anything you can do with a web page, you can do with these. These images, as you can see, wherever I have them, they need to be stored so it can access, so that the web page, this creates an HTML, so that you can access those from anywhere. And since Midjourney is a great public repo for that, easily accessible, that's what I'm using here. So we're going to go back here. This is where you start. The green, you can start anywhere up here, work on the passage. You can rename the passage. In this case, well, we won't test from here. I'll show you how we go through some other options. You can rename the whole story. Here's the style sheet. If you wanted the same image or the same look, the same background color, the same font to make it consistent, you could put the CSS in here. Build your story. You could publish it to a file. Export as a TWE. So the actual Twine file is called a TWE. So you can send it to another computer, share it with others. Then publish to a file is where you publish to the HTML. And you can choose all kinds of options here. Passage. So we're going to go ahead and go over to Firefox here, and I'll show you what it looks like. So when it's all said and done, remember the detective image. So you follow along. You want to cover up again at the top of most of these. Quickly got Midjourney to create a somewhat relevant image. Didn't take much time. And in this case, follow the story. And yes, it's not formatted great. It's not a great cohesive story, but that's okay. This is good for an example. Silence the source. He confronts or threatens a fellow detective, and he ends up becoming part of the corrupt system. You return home and try again. You can do some more cover up. There's some options there. He can fight back or reveal the truth. He can fight back, as you can see on the screen. Suffers loss, and you go home. So it's again, Twine, branching narrative, great for creating these HTMLs. A lot of options there. We have our branching narrative just finished with Twine. But what about all the text we had back here that we checked for plagiarism? Got a good score on that. All of this in here. Actually, a couple stories. But what I went ahead and did was I made it look a little prettier and PDF'd it. And so what we have here, what can come out of that, is a good outline. PDF that. The novella idea, you have the protagonist. Yeah, I just did that in Midjourney. Added that in there for some fun. And the central conflict, you have the twist. We'll go back to the top here, and you have the whole structure. Talking about the main character, you got the 3 acts that we asked for, the themes, a little bit repetition there from the theme. But you can use this document that you create, write it with a few prompts, checking it, that initial for plagiarism, and then put it into Word or whatever Word document editor you use. It is easy to come up with the structure and then start building from there, and use your own writing skills to progress. And feel free, of course, to add to that. Use the robot, use the bot to help fill things out. But definitely, it's a great jumpstart for getting ideas and character generation, character character concepts, world building, and then insert your own writing style with that. And speaking of writing style, nobody can write in every style. Everybody has their favorite genre, their favorite form, favorite way of going about it. And the robots, internet searches, other things can provide some form, especially when you're uncomfortable with that style. I am more of a technical writer, so I had to get some inspiration, not just from asking the robot for different things, but I had to look through, peruse, and read, uh, get some ideas from actual books. So, what were some of the books for what we've got going, the style we wanted? So, these are books. Now, it's fuzzy, the picture's fuzzy there after enlarging it a bit. Tom Clancy books, of course. There's Waging Cyber War. There's Patrick O'Brien, Master and Commander. The Horatio Hornblower books, especially the first one, Beat to Quarters. Jason Bourne, if you, it's helpful, even just the first one. Watch the movie and write down the beats or the scenes and the changes. It doesn't take long to see the pattern and to come up with some good inspiration from that. Uh, the Cyber Warfare by Chase Cunningham, Waging Cyber War by Jacob Oakley, and also, oddly enough, the Extreme Ownership. That is more of a business leadership book, but the 2 men who wrote it are Navy SEAL, former Navy SEALs, SEAL team leaders, and so there's actually a lot of a lot of information in there about tactics and weapons and things that are used. So this, whatever you might write, feel free to look for inspiration. There's nothing new under the sun, so feel free to look at the, especially all of these are award winners, and some of them are just classics for the depth of technical insight and knowledge that the authors use. So these were several books and authors that I used and that we're also using as a team to get the right look and look, the feel and the style of the novellas. In the last 45 minutes or so, we have discovered some free tools, created characters, written the outline and basics of a story, checked for plagiarism, generated useful images, drawn a world map, and created challenges. To recap, what are we looking to do with all this? We're looking to use story and story plus art plus education, story and art and education and gaming, story, art, education, gaming, plus adventure. CSI Linux, more than a pretty OS.